Hello everyone, this is Peter James Gashola, the Born Again Energist, and this is my channel, The Energy Academy, where we talk about all things metaphysical and esoteric. Today, I'm going to do a quick video on dowsing. We're going to talk about what it is and how to do it, the very basics at least. So, let's jump into it. So, what is dowsing? I was online and I found a pretty good definition what dowsing is. So, pardon me while I read this. Dowsing is the exercise of a human faculty which allows one to obtain information in a manner beyond the scope and power of standard human physical senses of sight, sound, touch, etc. So, sight, sound, taste, touch, etc. This is possible using tools, the body, or using intuition or paranormal abilities. Tools such as a pendulum, there's a thing called a bobber, which I've never used myself. But today we're going to talk about pendulum dowsing. Dowsing with a pendulum or a rod or instrument is a type of divination. What is perceiving or having knowledge of the hidden and comes from the subconscious of a person. Dowsing is often used for the search for hidden things, like water or metals and minerals. The search for water, especially with a dowsing rod, which is usually kind of you may have seen like people walking around with a Y-shaped stick, so it's like two handles and a pointer. It's also called, the search for water, especially with a dowsing rod, is also called water witching. Nowadays it is often used for tracking down ley lines, which are energy lines in the earth. And dowsing is an ancient art. It has been used in Egypt, where they were using dowsing to lay out where their sanctuaries and their pyramids should be for the burials and so on. So that's a definition of dowsing. In the definition here, it mentions what is perceiving or having knowledge of the hidden and comes from the subconscious of a person as opposed to conscious thought. One school of thought, like this definition here, is that it is the subconscious working through you, or working through your subconscious. There are other schools of thought where it's, you're working with source or your spirit guides or angel helpers, God. It's really, myself, I think it's kind of a blend of all of those things, personally. My mentor, Raymond Grace, he's more of the school of thought where it's your spirit guides or angel helpers that are working through you. So, what can you do with dowsing? There's a ton of different things you can use dowsing for. As mentioned in here, sometimes finding lost objects. A lot of people that dig wells use a dowsing rod, the Y rod that I mentioned earlier, which you can make out of a coat hanger, metal coat hanger, or you find, like I said, a Y-shaped stick. I myself have not tried that, so that is new to me. The dowsing I do with a pendulum, and one of the other things that you can do with dowsing is simple questions. It's great for questions that need a yes or no answer. You can do multiple choice, that's a little more intermediate level. And with dowsing, you can also clear energies. So if you're feeling really lousy, you're having a down day, that's probably because you've absorbed some negative energy either from another person or a situation. And you can use dowsing to clear that energy as well. So you can change energy. One thing I've done is with using Raymond Grace has a DVD that you can use for energizing water, which clears all the negative energy out of it, clears pollutants out of it, out of the water, and raises the energy and the consciousness of the water. And you can use it for many things. We've done it here for the well that we have. Since we've done that, my mother's plants, as she's watering them, are growing out of control. One day I'll give you a little tour of her plants and show you. It's really quite amazing. So, dowsing with a pendulum. What is a pendulum? For those that don't really know, a pendulum basically is a weight at the end of a string or chain, and it's a tool which you use to show that work is being done, what you're asked to do is being done, or for, like I said, yes and no answers. I have my pendulum here. So this is my pendulum, which is a stainless steel weight at the end of a chain. If you like, any weight on a string or chain will do. My mentor uses a .45 caliber bullet at the end of a chain. This is not actually a bullet. This is actually a very cleverly disguised USB drive, but just, again, I've been in situations where I've forgotten my pendulum, and I happen to have this sitting in my vehicle with me if I need to ask a question. And even more basic than that, you can create your own pendulum by tying a key to the end of a string as well. Do the same thing. Now, one thing about using a key is you can see this one here, the hole is centered and in line with the rest of the key, which is ideal. You don't want a key with an offset hole so that when it's hanging from the string, it's hanging on an angle. You want something hanging plumb. So, a lot of people ask, what's the best thing to use for a pendulum? And really, it's up to you. You can go to a metaphysical shop or anywhere that sells pendulums and check them all out, and you see which one you like, and whatever speaks to you is the right pendulum for you. The pendulum I showed you of mine, it's a stainless steel weight, which is ideal for dowsing outdoors. If there's a breeze or whatever, the weight of the pendulum will, the breeze is less likely to interfere with your answer, with the pendulum. You can use any crystals or rocks. You want something with a point at the end, though, for more advanced dowsing where you're using dowsing charts, and we'll get into that in a later video. So I have the stainless steel. My sister has one, which is a beautiful crystal. It's a snowflake obsidian, which is basically a black crystal with white specks in it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Another friend of mine uses one that's brass and another one that's copper. So really, it's whatever speaks to you is the ideal pendulum. It doesn't really matter what it's made out of. Some schools of thought, if you're dowsing for prosperity, you want to use something like Amazonite, which is good for prosperity, abundance, or a citrine crystal is also good for prosperity and abundance. Again, it's really up to you. So, let's get into some basics. Now, a lot of what I did in the beginning when I started dowsing was for asking yes or no questions, looking for answers to yes or no questions. And when you have your pendulum, if it's swinging to you and away from you, that's a yes. If it's swinging left and right, that's a no. And sometimes some people need to program their pendulum, as we call it. So if you have your pendulum with you, or you want to pause the video and make one out of a key like I showed you, or you want to come back to this video later and do it, we'll start off with programming your pendulum. So the way to program it is we'll start with a yes. So you will intentionally move the pendulum back and forth, and in your head or out loud you're saying, this is a yes, this indicates yes, this is yes, yes, this indicates yes, this is a yes, over and over for about 30 seconds. And after a while, stop putting the intention and see if your pendulum is swinging on its own. Right now, I'm not intending this. This is actually swinging on its own. Now, people are like, oh, your hand is moving. Well, of course my hand is moving. The pendulum wouldn't move otherwise. But what's happening is my spirit guides or subconscious is moving the energy through my arm to the pendulum and causing it to swing a yes. So for about 30 seconds you want to say this is a yes, this indicates yes, this is positive, this is good. Well, not good necessarily. This is positive, this is yes, over and over. And then give thanks to your pendulum and your dowsing system, whether it's you're thanking your subconscious, your angel helpers, source. It's very important when you're dowsing to give gratitude. It's very important when you do anything to give gratitude, but you know, we're talking about dowsing right now. So for your dowsing, lots of gratitude. So once you have your yes programmed, then we're going to program the no. So for programming for a no, you are going to intentionally swing the pendulum left to right. This is no, this is negative, this is no, this indicates no, this is negative, no, negative, no, non-beneficial, negative, no, left and right. Do that for, 30 seconds or so. And again, when you're finished, thank your pendulum, thank your dowsing system, thank you. And then simply hold your pendulum up and ask your pendulum, thank you pendulum, show me a yes. And it should swing to and away from you. And then, thank your pendulum. Pendulum, please show me a no. And it should swing left to right. If it swings on a diagonal, and this is usually when you're asking a question, you might get a diagonal swing. That's indicating a maybe. So it's not really a, which could mean your question wasn't clear enough. So let's get into questions now that we've programmed our pendulum. When you're asking your question, you want it to be very clear and specific. And an example I read once that I really like to use of an unclear question, or not necessarily unclear. So the question is, you're going on a trip. Does my car need gas? Well, even if you filled the tank up 10 minutes before you ask the question, most likely you're going to get a yes because your car runs on gas, so your car needs gas. A more appropriate question would be, do I have enough gas in my car to reach my destination? So then you'll get a yes or a no, depending. So if you're traveling somewhere that's 1,000 kilometers away and you only get 500 kilometers to a tank, chances are you don't have enough fuel in your car to reach your destination, so you should get a no. Also, when you're asking your questions, you want to use language that a third grader would understand. You want to keep it very, very simple and clear and easy to understand. The more complicated you get with your wording, the more it can skew the answers a little bit. What's the other thing that I wanted? There was one more thing I wanted to mention. Oh, emotional detachment. It's very important when you're dowsing that you douse on stuff that you're not emotionally attached to. So if you're um, dowsing on relationships, money's a big one. People tend to have a lot of attachment to those things. So if you have questions about that stuff, you're better off asking someone else to douse for you. So you tell them what question you want to know the answer to, and then let them do the dowsing, because they don't have anything invested necessarily in the outcome of the answer, which is important to get a clear and accurate answer. And again, as mentioned in the definition of dowsing that I read at the beginning of the video, dowsing is an art form. And like any artist, it takes practice. When I first started dowsing, I could barely get my pendulum to move. Some people are natural at it. My sister, the first time she picked up her pendulum, it started swinging. I thought she was going to take my eye out. It was swinging so wildly. So some people are natural. They have an amazing connection with source, and they're able to get it right off the bat. Some people, you need to develop that relationship with source or your subconscious, or whatever system you want to follow. So in the beginning, you may find that you ask a question and your pendulum either barely moves or doesn't move at all. You want to so before you start, especially in the beginning when you're practicing, and you want to practice every day for 10 or 15 minutes. I myself use my pendulum almost daily. More for like clearing and moving energy as opposed to questions, but also for the questions. But you want to be doing 10 or 15 minutes a day. You want to be somewhere that you're comfortable, familiar, and quiet when you first start practicing. And before you ask your questions, you want to take a deep breath, kind of clear your mind and your space. Take a deep breath, clear, and then ask your question. And practice every day. And the more you practice, you'll find the more accurate your answers are. And if you're getting answers that seem contradictory to what you're expecting, or flat out wrong, then simply take a look at the question you're asking. Perhaps it needs rephrasing. And you can always reach out to me if you have any questions about questions you should be asking, and see if I can help you with that as well. So that's the very basics of dowsing with a pendulum for yes and no questions. I will be doing more videos on dowsing. The next one we'll talk about multiple choice questions and how you can ask those or get answers to those. And we'll do a more advanced one a little later on about clearing and moving energy. And we'll go from there. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. I would be honored if you would. And share this with your friends. And thanks again. And I will see you in the very near future. Thank you.